What I may be an expert in is 35 years of mistakes, okay? But that being said, I've made mistakes over 35 years, but I survived them because I like to think I'm a good risk manager. And that's to say that if you are in a losing position, you cut your losses. And if you're in a winning position, you don't sell your winner, you actually harvest your winner. Most people do exactly the opposite. Our good friend Shifty Peter Schiff heard about Bitcoin when it was $10 US per coin and has been forever bashing it. The smart thing for Shifty Peter to have done was to change his investment guidelines or investment thesis as the information changed. He's a horrible risk manager. He's admitted it to me on a debate I had with him. I'll just tell you, boomers need to change their investment thesis when the information changes. But the reality is Bitcoin is the most beautiful financial technology that I have ever seen in my 35 years of managing risk. It is the best asymmetric return opportunity I have ever seen. And some of these other stupid old boomers, myself included, when I first heard about Bitcoin, I believed what the newspaper narratives were writing. At least I did my research. I went down the rabbit hole. I have never been more confident that Bitcoin is the solution to the fiat Ponzi. Let's focus on what Bitcoin is, though. It is basically the best hedge against the fiat Ponzi. Now, Shifty Pete and I both agree about the fiat Ponzi. He just refuses to evaluate the intrinsic properties of Bitcoin that are better than gold. And that's a big problem because he is myopic in that extent, and he's going to cost his unit holders a lot of money over time. So I was, as I mentioned, I grew up in Montreal, and there was a mutual friend that was trying to start up a Bitcoin closed-end traded fund that was to trade on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Now, we were successful in that endeavor. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but initially when I agreed to meet him in Montreal, I was skeptical about Bitcoin. And luckily, I sat at a restaurant with him and I listened to the story. And, you know, I got some of the salient points. Well, there's only 21 million. It's decentralized. It's based on mathematics and code. But the aha moment for me, Gary, was when he showed me the blockchain in action, the Bitcoin blockchain in action with transactions and the mempool and the block rewards. On the web, we use tradeblock.com as the visual, but I'm an engineer and I'm very visual. I was like, oh my God, this thing is alive. It's a breathing, beautiful technology that's functioning right in front of my eyes. And so my aha moment was when I saw the blockchain functioning and the hashes going across and the transactions and the mempool. And I'm like, all in. I said, this is the solution to the fiat Ponzi that I'd been looking for literally 30 years since I graduated and started working at Canada's largest financial institution, the Royal Bank of Canada, in 1988. And I'll just summarize with one thing. Royal Bank of Canada was insolvent on its way to bankruptcy in 1988 due to the Latin American debt crisis. So I'd been searching for this, and that's why I'm so happy to find Bitcoin in 2016. Bitcoin is very simply a decentralized network that allows the transfer of, in my opinion, digital energy from person to person or peer to peer anywhere in the world. And it will settle on chain in 10 minutes. Now, there are layer 2 and layer 3 applications such as the Lightning Network that allow those settlement times to be instantaneous. But at its base, at its layer 1, Bitcoin is based on a decentralized network where there is no CEO, there is nobody controlling this network except for nodes and miners all around the world. And the most beautiful thing is, Gary, the reality of central banking causing all the problems in our financial world, in my opinion, Bitcoin solves the problem of central bank shenanigans. As you know, I'm involved in a power company in Canada. I believe, again, that Bitcoin is best described as digital energy, okay? A monetary store of value, an ability to transfer the value of your work energy over time and space to be consumed in the future. Now, why it's important for me is because an engineer, you're ingrained with the first law of thermodynamics, which is the concept of conservation of energy. But as you mentioned, there's some small countries that have embraced Bitcoin as legal tender. I believe that trend will continue, and I believe it will continue when a large energy producing nation that is sick of being a hostage of the petrodollar decides to price their valuable natural resource energy in digital energy or Bitcoin. It only makes sense, right? From the concept, from the perception of an engineer. Why would you sell your valuable natural resource energy for petrodollar fiat that can be debased and actually can be taken away from you or restricted? So Bitcoin is digital energy. I believe over time, natural resource rich countries, including potentially Canada, will realize that it's much smarter to price and store the value that they have exported for their energy, store in the present value in digital energy, so that over time that energy is conserved so that you can utilize it in the future when you need it. Very simply, Gary, it will happen with larger and larger countries. Is Canada the first G7 nation that will adopt Bitcoin? I'm not certain, but I do know this. Canada has sold all of their gold reserves. We have zero gold reserves. It would probably be smart, in my opinion, if Canada decided to use or at least embrace Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. And this is where I think it's going to go in the future. I think gold will become less important as a treasury reserve asset. I'm certain that U.S. Treasury bonds, which have been being reduced over time by central banks like China, Japan, and Russia, they will replace that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's only 13 years old. Lots of potential outcomes to come, but it's silly cheap on a price basis, in my opinion, because once you do the math to figure out what it means if larger countries embrace Bitcoin as a reserve asset, wow, that's when the math gets exciting. In an event where Bitcoin becomes 5% of global financial assets, which in the event that the world's largest oil exporter, Saudi Arabia, decides to price their product in Bitcoin, people would be scrambling to get a percentage of their global assets in Bitcoin. So at 5% of global financial assets, the price of Bitcoin is over $2 million US per Bitcoin in today's dollars. Well, what would happen if Saudi Arabia makes the announcement? It wouldn't go directly to $2 million per Bitcoin, but I'm thinking that people that do the grade 11 math, just like I just did for you, they would realize, boy, I better get some. And I think the price spike would be monumental. It'll probably be, in my opinion, it won't be Saudi Arabia, Gary, because, you know, the petrodollar system came about because of a guarantee for the USA to defend Saudi Arabia as long as Saudi Arabia priced their oil in US dollars. It's most likely to come from a country like Russia. I think you've seen Mr. Putin. Regardless, I do not agree with what he's doing in the in Ukraine. I do not agree with his policies in general, but I do know that he's quite a crafty individual that is not a friend of the USA. So why should he hold US dollars on his reserve as treasury reserves, especially when, as he just experienced this year, his $600 billion of US treasuries were frozen so that he couldn't get access to them and couldn't sell them to fund his desires for, expanding his empire, let's just say. It's coming. It's going to happen. I don't know when. It's hard for me to, one of the old adages in trading, give a target price, but never a time, or give a direction, but never a target price. So over time, I think the price of Bitcoin goes up. And if you ask me a target price, my target price for Bitcoin is over $2 million US. And don't forget, that price target is in today's dollars.
Oh, good
Don't
point.
overthink this, people. If you own 0 Bitcoin, you're the knucklehead at the party. And the guy that dissed you and said, this thing is going to 0, listen, clean out your ears, you stupid old boomer, okay? Listen to other boomers who have done the work. Don't hold 0 Bitcoin.
That's it for today, guys. If you found this video useful, then don't forget to like the video and share this knowledge with your friends and family. And don't forget to check out the full video, link is in the description. Thank you.